Hey everyone, by now you've probably seen or at least aware of the viral report from YouTuber Nick Shirley on welfare fraud in Minnesota.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building.
I'm Rich Lowry of National Review. Explosive stuff there is understandable. It's gotten a lot of attention now. Local journalists and activists have done similar work over the years, including knocking on the doors of empty establishments there. Our friends at Powerline, a conservative blog in Minnesota, have done excellent work on this for a very long time. But this one has hit a nerve. The left, though, has a favorite word that they apply to folks who want accountability for this massive scandal. It is scapegoat. Oh yeah, they love this word. TwinCities.com. Minnesota leaders push back on Somali scapegoating ahead of threatened immigration sweep. Care, Minnesota. Somali business community Muslim faith leaders to call out politicians for scapegoating. Grandstanding. From The Guardian, quote, Somalis are the scapegoat, end quote. Fear rises as Trump targets Minneapolis community. And we must really know it's scapegoating if Tim Walz is calling it out.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat.
Couple things going on here, right? Either these people have no idea what scapegoat means, or they won't acknowledge the reality of what happened in Minnesota, or probably some of both. So scapegoat, it's a term deriving from the Bible. The idea is the community sins are loaded onto this goat that's driven off into the wilderness. It was William Tyndale, the great biblical scholar, in my view, one of the greatest heroes in Anglo-American history, but we can put that aside for now, who came up with the term scape from escape. The goat is being driven out and go, right? It's a goat, scapegoat. But the point is, the goat's not guilty of anything. Whereas here, you have real Somalis who are guilty of massive fraud. Massive fraud. Now, not all Somalis did this, obviously, and there are others besides Somali Americans who engaged in this fraud, but overwhelmingly a Somali American phenomenon, and the Somali culture in Minnesota played into this scandal, the clannishness, the lack of social trust, all sorts of other factors. So this is a real thing. But because it's politically inconvenient for the left to admit that refugees came here and then did a very bad thing to the state that took them in, they want to say, oh, nothing to see here. It's just scapegoating. Here's another iteration of this argument on MS Now.
The other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right. And so that's also something to keep an eye on, and that's inappropriate, absolutely.
May have been involved. They were the overwhelming perpetrators of this scandal and profited massively from it. This is not speculation. This is not the right wing making this up. We have serious indictments. We have convictions. We have guilty pleas. But as far as the left's concerned, because Somali Americans are the quote unquote right demographic, they're supposed to be a privileged group, and it's inherently nasty and reactionary and racist to point out their role in a scandal that robbed taxpayers of billions of dollars. This just goes to how progressive racial politics enabled the scandal from the beginning. Check this out.
Heard that MDE took this step to really stop feeding the kids in the middle of pandemic. My office had to do something.
In the video, Osmond tells the room how he arranged a call with the MDE commissioner about their attempts to stop new meal sites.
But I'm one of those people that push back and call it what it is, which is racist.
That's Jamal Osmond, a city council member in Minneapolis, a Democrat, of course, describing how he used the argument of racism as a brushback pitch against officials who are suspicious of these programs, in this case, a food program. And when I say this was an enabling argument, this was an enabling use of the race charge, in his case, it was literally true because he and his family were allegedly in on the fraud.
At the time he delivered this speech, Osmond's wife, Ilo Amba, was in the middle of claiming to run a meal site of her own in this small office in downtown Minneapolis that the Minnesota Attorney General in this civil complaint calls a fraudulent shell company.
Now, it shouldn't be hard to say what happened here, right? A massive fraud was carried out by and large by people who should just be grateful to be here. Instead, they took advantage of taxpayers in Minnesota and around the country and perpetrated a historic crime. But fully acknowledging this just runs against too many progressive priors. Welfare spending, supposedly always good. The right wing, supposedly always making up allegations of fraud, and groups with the quote unquote right demographics can't be criticized. So that's why the left can't fully call this out. This is why they can't express outrage and demand accountability and work to nail every single perpetrator against the wall. Instead, they want a cop out that's exemplified by their favorite word when it comes to this story, which is scapegoat. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.